I'm Rick Boyko, and I am Cindy Gallop's sidekick for today. So you all know who she is, and I'm just here to add the masculine side to this conference with her, because she's going to tweet the shit out of it anyway. So, but I did want to, let's see if this works. There we go. This is get in touch with your creative side. This is meant to be aimed at, marketers or clients or account people. How many in here are marketers, clients, or account people? A good part of you, not everybody. So the rest are from the agency side and creative. And so while you were here, what were you thinking? We were going to be talking about clients? Yeah. So we looked at the book and said it's probably not as descriptive as should be, because what we're trying to do is talk to as many marketers as we could. Part of Kat's wanting to have Spark Starters come and participate was to try to attract more clients into this session and to get them to start to think a little bit more creatively. So for the ones that are actually in the creative department, you're going to, this might be a little bit of a redundant thing, but it'll actually hopefully still be fun for you, because we're going to challenge you with an assignment that you'll have to work together to actually do.
And actually, our assignment in the second part of this, which I'll be running, won't be redundant at all. Yeah. In fact, it's very, very necessary.
And since there's so many of you that are actually from the creative department, I probably won't even do the little sketch thing that we were going to do, and we'll just jump to that relatively soon.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So anyway, this was a quote from yesterday from Elise, who was from Mondelez, and she said, "Women are the voice of power of creativity." And I thought that was a pretty interesting statement that she made. She said that Mondelez did really believe that. And so I went, and there's been huge talk today and yesterday about creativity and about innovation. And in fact, Todd's whole discussion was really about creativity and innovation. How many of you saw Todd's presentation? It was really terrific. He was very inspiring and had a lot of ways for you to actually activate some of your creativity and start to utilize more of your time by not looking at your phone as much. So anyway, this is also another quote from Jeffrey Immelt from GE, and he had said, "Creativity and imagination applied in a business context is innovation. Therefore, we're measuring our top leaders on how imaginative they are." A big-time statement. It's probably 6 years old now, but what they've really done at GE, and they've really changed their culture around a much more creatively driven organization. And this was an IBM study that was done several years ago by talking to 300 CEOs around the globe. How many of you have seen it or heard of it? So they actually asked what they were looking for in employees, and they said today's connected economy is full of ambiguity, and the characteristics required to navigate that are collaboration, creativity, and communication. And in fact, if you look at the top ratings by percentage of what they were looking for, it was amazing that creative came before analytical and quantitative thinking. I mean, for CEOs, 300 CEOs from around the globe, and this was sort of the compilation of what they thought. And a similar study done by them with CMOs came up very similarly, that they were looking for creative thinking in the people that they were trying to hire. So the big question is, where do they find creative thinkers? When you think about the marketing schools, the MBA programs, the educational programs that most clients and marketers are coming out of, there aren't creative thinking being taught. I ran the VCU Brand Center for 9 years, and one of the reasons I went there was because when I was trying to get account people into Ogilvy, found that most MBA programs had no creative thinking at all, nothing. So we're dealing with people being stamped out of programs that don't really understand what CEOs and CMOs are actually looking for. Where are they going to find these people? This is, how many of you are familiar with Sir Ken Robinson? Some of you. All right, well, you should know him. He's Professor Emeritus at Warwick University. He's written several books. He's just about to come up with a new one called Creative Schools. He is probably the foremost author on creative thinking in education. And he has the most viewed TED Talk with 29.1 million views and counting. And he's become a huge speaker, and he was on my board at the VCU Brand Center, and a terrific gentleman. So this is a little clip from his TED Talk. Okay.
I love telling it of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6, and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said, this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, what are you drawing? And the girl said, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher said, but nobody knows what God looks like. And the girl said, they will in a minute. What these things have in common is that kids will take a chance. If they don't know, they'll have a go. Am I right? They're not frightened of being wrong. Now, I don't mean to say that being wrong is the same thing as being creative. What we do know is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. And we run our companies this, by the way. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it.
So very much like what Todd said this morning about fear, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never do anything creative. The other statement that he made is we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or we get educated out of it. And that is what really is the dilemma between how we deal with marketers and clients and creative people, because we're taught differently. From the time you're sort of in elementary school to the time you get to college, you're taught to go down a certain path. I mean, how many of you started out sort of liking art, but as you went through the education system, art became sort of a playtime, and it was recess. It wasn't real academic endeavor. And so when I got to academia, you had the School of Business and the School of Arts, or the MBA versus the MFA, and neither school talked to each other. They both sort of looked down their noses at the other. And in academia, talk about an arcane, screwed up world. I could tell you about that for a while. But the real difference is critical thinking versus creative thinking. And so you're taught differently, right? So the critical is analytic versus generative, convergent versus divergent, vertical versus lateral, probability versus possibility, focused, diffuse, objective, subjective, verbal, visual, linear, associative, and my favorite, yes, but versus yes, and. Now, there's two totally different ways of seeing the world and being taught to see the world. One's very analytical, wants to quantify and qualify any decision that you make. Don't take risks. If you're going to go and reach for the needle in the haystack, you better come out with the needle, because if not, you're screwed. And conversely, on the other side, you're sort of taught to push the boundaries, think outside the box, and to color outside the lines, and take risks. It's okay to take risks. Now, neither are wrong, right? But there are two different ways of viewing the world. So now, these two people come together being taught totally different. They don't speak the same language. What happens when you don't speak the same language as somebody? Can't communicate, you don't trust them, you're sort of fearful. What are they really trying to say? I don't get them. And that's what's happened. Our education system has basically pushed the two completely different ways. And now we expect to understand each other and come together and kumbaya around an idea when one doesn't really understand how to judge the idea, and the other is sort of doesn't understand why you have to use all the metrics to find out whether it's good or bad. So there's an inherent problem. And what we really need to try to do, and what I try to do at the Brand Center, and what I want to try to do with clients and marketers, is to have them start to think about collective creativity. Because the reality is, they are creative too. They've been told and taught that they aren't through the education process. But the reality is like riding a bike. You have that memory muscle in you. And so it's why I started Spark Starters, and Cindy is part of it with others. And our mission is to help companies become more competitive, igniting the creativity hidden within their organization and inspiring individuals to think more creatively and intuitively. And we believe all discoveries, leaps into the unknown, come thanks to creativity. It doesn't belong to the few. It can be brought to bear on any challenge by anybody. And that's the real key issue, by anybody. And again, how many of you in this room who are marketers or clients have said, I'm not creative? You know, I mean, I've heard, like yesterday I was talking to a woman at the bar when we started talking about the conference, and she said, well, I'm not creative. And that is, you know, part of the problem. So what we want to try to do is get your creativity flowing. And so this could be that kid's drawing of God. You know, how many of you, when you were young, drew something like this? Everybody, keep your hands up now. Everybody has drawn one of these. Your parents have had it on the refrigerator wall, right? Now, and you got to junior high, how many of you kept drawing? High school, how many of you kept drawing? College, now continue to draw. Isn't it amazing? We had 100%, we're down to about 5, maybe 10. And that's what's happened, is that you have lost the ability, you don't even think, before you started talking, you were visual. You drew things like that before you could actually say words. And so you still inherently have that in you, you just lost it. I'll give you an assignment, but I think we'll move to the other assignment unless you want this. The assignment is you all have your pads or something to draw on, or write notes on?
Actually, yeah. I think we're so short on time, unfortunately, because we started late.
Yeah, so
we're not going to actually do this.
Okay, so but we're still going to need you to have pads of paper.
Yeah.
But what you should try this is sit down with somebody and draw their picture, and have them draw you, and you'll see that well, I can't draw. The reality is you can. And you'll amaze yourself. I've done this many, many times, and every time I do it, people are amazed at the actual ability. They just haven't tried it in years to actually apply that memory again and look at something and look at it and try to put it down visually rather than through words. I also challenge him, usually in this assignment when I do it a long time, is then ask you to draw something that is your favorite thing. And it's amazing, again, if somebody likes to play guitar or has a dog or whatever it might be, they draw it and they're, again, amazed. And then I've had people send me emails saying, thank you, I've started drawing again, because they hadn't done it in so long and they just don't think about it. Some of the things that Todd talked about, there's things, what do you do for yourself to keep yourself going, and that's not just the business side and not an ad or not a strategy, but really just what are you doing to keep yourself in the craft and creative and your own. So, but that's something you could try at home. You can do with somebody next to you today even. Sit down at the Apple Lounge over there and try the experiment. It is fun, and you will probably see that it's something that you can get interested in again. So we're going to go past these, and I'm going to go back to the quote from Eliza, and I'm going to turn it over to Cindy, who's going to give you an assignment. And we're going to actually go around and listen to you. We're going to break you up into teams, and actually we should probably start thinking about that because we have 5 different things that we're going to give you. So we'll break you up into teams of 5.
So guys, based on where you're sitting currently, there are about 50 of you. So before we tell you what you're going to do, find your group of about 10 people in your vicinity. Look at the row behind you. Put 10 each of you together.
What? Okay. Okay.
We don't want to hog up your thigh.
All right.
Cluster.
All right.
Cluster.
I will fight you.
Oops, some people don't want to do anything.
No, they're going for a flight.
Oh, right, I say, okay.
They're also from Mullen, and I think they probably thought this was about, as you said, about clients.
Oh, right, that's okay. Okay, guys, has everybody found their group of roughly 10 people? Right, so that there's a group there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Within each group, can you identify, okay, first group there, who is the most anally obsessed with punctuality within you? Hand up, please. Within that group. We need a timekeeper in each group. Okay, you're the timekeeper. Right. Over there, timekeeper. Timekeeper in that group over there. Who's the timekeeper? Yep, got you. Right, down here, timekeeper. Right, and timekeeper over there. Got it. Fantastic. Very important role. So we're going to give you an exercise to do. It's going to be a quick hit creativity exercise, and we want you to get seriously radical, innovative, lateral, and very, very creative. Today, here in the US, more women drive cars than men. More women actually hold driving licenses than men. That's the most recent data that we were able to find from 2010. But essentially, in 2010, there are 105.7 million women drivers versus 104.3 million men drivers. More women drive in this country than men. And women are, today, the majority of car purchasers and influencers. So women accounted for 39% of US car purchasers in 2013, last year. Globally, women are making the final decision on more than 60% of new car purchasers. Women influence 85 to 95% of US car purchasers. Among millennials, in fact, 53% of car buyers are female, and 47.5% of women here in the US who bought a new car went to the dealership by themselves, on their own. And yet, 91% of car salesmen at franchise dealerships are men. 74% of women feel they are misunderstood by car marketers. And who is the globally white male-dominated or male-dominated auto industry apparently holding in mind when they create all of that automotive advertising that we see on our screens all the time? So, we're going to change that today, in this room, within the next 30 minutes. So, we're going to change that for BMW Group 1, Ford Group 2, Toyota Group 3, Cadillac Group 4, and Tesla Group 5. So, what we want you to do is, each group, guys, you've got 20 minutes to come up with how you would make your car mark, make women feel, oh my God, this car brand totally gets me. And you have complete latitude to make those recommendations in whatever area you want. Product, design, retail, dealerships, communication, events, whatever the ideas are that you think will make your car mark one that women go, oh my God, this car mark gets me. Because as per Sir Ken Robinson's example, nobody knows what a car mark that makes women feel they get me looks like, but they're about to.
No.
So you've each got 20 minutes precisely. I recommend you spend 15 of those 20 minutes on the ideas and then 5 minutes on how you're going to present them. Because you're going to come up here and you can decide, by the way, again, whether your whole team presents, one of you presents, two of you presents, or whatever. But you're going to present, you have 5 minutes each team to present back to us on your ideas for how to make your car mark the one that gets women like nobody else. And by the way, don't sweat it on how much you know about that particular car mark. Just use your own understanding and information. We're not looking for in-depth expertise and data-backed assertions. We just want your most radically innovative, creative ideas on how to speak to women when it comes to cars. So you can stay in this room, or you can go out, but your timekeeper needs to be Ms. or Mr. Whiplash. You need to crack the whip, okay? 15 minutes to come up with the ideas, 5 minutes to work out how to present them, and back here in, what's the time, Rick?
20, well, what time I'm going to put a timer on, but
Yep.
the time right now is 11:57.
Right, okay, so be back here by 20 past 12, and then we will each see 5-minute presentations from each of you. Go. Any questions? Is that all clear? All clear? Yep. Great.
All right.
Good.
You're off. Timer has started.
Throwing that out there as some thoughts.
Let's start with Team BMW. Who's presenting? Right? Presenters, please take the stage. Rick will time you 5 minutes. If you do it sooner, that's terrific. If you run over, we're yanking you off the stage. Okay? Great. Woo!
Thank you for having us today, BMW clients. We are here to tell you why we think that women are the greatest opportunity for you in the next decade and beyond. When we took a look at the BMW brand, one thing that we noticed that it was incredibly masculine. And the main reason we felt that that was the case is that BMW has such strong functional attributes, things like handling and power, and that is talked about in terms of how many seconds it takes to get up to max speed, that it is only talked about in that masculine way. But there's a huge opportunity to look at what those things actually mean from an emotional standpoint. What is the beauty of handling? It's precision. What's the beauty of that sort of 6-second uptake to full speed? It's power. And these are things that the modern woman's role in many roles in the world actually demands. And so the big opportunity we see here from an insight standpoint is to take BMW from the functional male attributes to those same functional things spoken about in an emotional context. And so,
hi everyone, I'm BMW client. I'm Melissa, I'm your creative director, so I get to do the fun stuff. Figure out when you have someone come to your dealership and they want a car, especially a BMW, what are they saying? They're saying they want sexy. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel precise. They want to feel assertive. They want to feel beautiful. So think of those words: sexy, assertive, powerful, beautiful, precise. What did I just describe? I described your car, and I described myself. Can't get much better than that, people. And you didn't even have to do any work, right? Because you already have that product. We're not trying to sell them on something you don't have. You own it. So take your attributes, take your functional attributes, as Caitlin said, and turn them into your emotional attributes. And therein is the brief for our creative team. That's the brief for you. That is the brief for your dealerships. Because we can say that, and we can do a ton of TV spots, and we can do what we always do and spend a shit ton of money on beautiful TV spots, and a beautiful website, and a beautiful digital campaign. But when those women, those beautiful, assertive, powerful, and precise women walk into your dealership and you treat them like shit, and you don't treat them as assertive, powerful, beautiful, precise, you only treat them as sexy, you're losing. And that's where the bottom falls out. So take this brief and use it for your external team and use it for your internal team and own it.
All right.
Do we have any questions from the audience for Team BMW? Any questions from the audience for Team BMW? No? Everybody good?
Kathy.
Okay, terrific.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo. Right, Team Ford.
And you were a minute.
Well done.
Well
we
done.
like that.
Yeah.
Precise. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Nancy Strange. We had Ford, and one of our first thoughts was Ford's tagline is go further. And what we would want is for Ford to go further in their relationships with their customers, so further that relationship between the company and women, and also further the relationship between women and their individual car. And we identified 3 areas that we wanted to do that. We considered the product design, how can you improve a relationship by just the way you design your car, the customer experience from pre-purchase through the car dies or they sell it, and also our messaging, how we talk to women. So product design, we thought women need a little more control. There's all of these things, you can pick blue, you can pick pink, but there's not all this space. What if I could pick, instead of I want a flip-up thing in the middle, I want a thing my purse fits gently in, or a diaper bag so I can easily reach it. And so from the very beginning, women should be designing their car for what their needs are, and some of these flexible modular things should take into account what women are looking for. Then with the customer experience,
yeah, so for customer experience, we thought there needs to be a new way to go through the car buying purchase. So part of that would be developing an app where you could put in all your specifications, everything you want, what you're looking for before you even get to the dealership. And for some people, even the negotiation could happen through the app, because that can be an intimidating process for women. And additionally, you could even request a test drive, and the car it could come to you if you're within certain radius of the dealership, so that you're working on your client's time instead of having them have to come to you. Another big thing is for the people who do want to come to the dealership and have that. You need salespeople who are authentic. Women, their studies have shown that women will pay more for a car if they like the person that they're dealing with. So capitalize on that. Relationships are important to women more than men. So have authentic people in the dealership who form a real relationship. Women know when they're being messed with and told lies. So you need probably more female salespeople and more just real people. And then finally, after the purchase experience, your service center needs to be tailored to women who might have to bring their kids with them or are working. So providing Wi-Fi, a kid play area, or even other services someone throughout, like beauty treatments and things that they can get done while their car is in there being serviced.
Right, and we were kind of calling that the Ford stylist. So, I know this destination maybe has a manicurist, and I have X amount of time and I have to do this. So you could pick your location based on that. But the idea of the stylist was we were talking about how healthcare now you can choose your physician, and the gym has, concierge services. So Ford should also.
And on top of being able to, be your own stylist for your car and be your own salesperson, maybe have all that happen in your own home and have the car come to you, you'd be able to negotiate your pricing through this application as well. So you don't have to do it face-to-face, because that can be an intimidating experience. But for our messaging, we want to show that the ease and ability of a woman on her iPad, maybe in her office outfit, and then when the car comes, this whole other version, this whole other side of this woman that you never knew or saw outside of the office, it comes, it pulls up, and it's now her car towing her fifth wheel RV and she's off on a journey. Or she's going to the farmer's market, because a lot of women are business owners and a lot of women are farmers. Maybe she's using her pickup truck to go deliver her goods to the farmer's market or whatever else. Something completely contrasting and different from what you thought this woman was going to be when she filled out her application.
Terrific.
Great.
Great. Any questions, anybody? No? Fantastic. Great.
No competitive questions.
Right.
Boy, you get the chance to blow the other guy's stuff up.
Toyota, Team Toyota, let's hear it. Woo!
They're clapping for you in there too.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So,
How are you?
How are you?
Who are
who am I? I'm Team Toyota. And here at Team Toyota, we want to connect with busy women by helping busy women manage their busy schedule. So we have a couple different ways and a few different executions that I'll take you through in order to help us do this. So, I think we all know that there is a huge disconnect between the way a brand speaks to a woman or a man or any kind of user, someone going in to buy a car, and what's actually happening at the dealership. So Toyota really wants to make this experience between the woman and the brand like much closer, and we want to get rid of the middleman. That being said, we know car dealerships are kind of necessary in order to buy cars, so we want to make the experience a lot better for the user when they're there. So, what are we going to do? We're really hoping to bring test drives to you in your driveway. You don't have to even go into the dealership, but we'll have female representatives coming from the dealership. Maybe you could even pick them out online through Tinder-like application beforehand in order to decide who the best driver is for you to talk to. Who's going to, someone that you feel comfortable asking questions to, whether it be a man or a woman. Additionally, if you do actually, purchase a Toyota and you want to go in to service your car, we're going to not only do the servicing for you, but we're going to wash your car for you. We're going to get it all spiffy. We're going to put kids in the back seat of the car. We'll wash them too. Really, anything that's going to help make your day-to-day a lot easier. Additionally, as women, I think we're all really attracted. We're empathetic, and I think we're attracted to brands that are serving a greater purpose than just being a car brand. So I think as Toyota, what we'd really like to do is, bring these ambitions to the forefront and start donating to a service called women, something about women driving. Women with Drive. Women with Drive, thank you. We want to donate cars and help women sort of, maybe been in shelters or, been abused, get back on their feet and start entering programs where they can either be drivers or, work at different companies and start donating our used cars to really help women get back on their feet. We really feel at Toyota that our service and how we treat people is our product, and it's not just about the physical product that you're buying. It's about this sort of feeling that we're giving you, and we are super excited to be gearing our advertising more towards women.
Terrific. Great, thank you.
You didn't ask anybody over there that were clapping in the other room.
Team Cadillac.
My grandfather was an engineer, and he drove a Cadillac. When my father reached VP level after working at a job for 40 years, he bought a Cadillac. And I have a photo of him in our driveway in this giant green Cadillac, tan interior, little short Italian fro mustache, with a suit. It was questionable, but that moment for him was success. He reached VP level, he bought a Cadillac. And with that photo, that mustache, cigar in his hand. So what happens when I reach VP? Where's my Cadillac? And that was the creative spark that our team took to build a vehicle and a campaign to reach these women as they get success. So I think we all see Cadillac as a masculine brand and a masculine car, even from the product design. So we would start from the product design and shape and create a car that fits a woman, and not just pinkwashing, not just understanding that she wants to customize or can change the interior colors, but really look significantly ergonomic redesigns, thoughtful of how it fits, and fitting like that great suit that you have when you put on and you know you feel confident and strong and powerful, and you know that moment you're walking into a room and you've arrived. Cue, this girl is on fire.
We also wanted to change the buyer experience. One of the things we talked about was how intimidating it is to go into the showroom and deal with the finance stuff and all that. So we talked about maybe a kind of more Warby Parker-ish model where you could rent a car for the weekend or the week at some sort of small fee and see if it incorporates into your life. Take out errands, take out little trips, see if it's the kind of thing that you want to drive, and it's not stop it for another one.
It's sometimes those little surprise things that you don't get to experience on the 10-minute test drive. When you go from the dealership through the streets onto the freeway, how does it separate in the back? But it is, how does it feel when I get everyone in there? What's the sound like on the freeway? How is it at the grocery store, or when I have to put in a bunch of dry cleaning? So let people really experience it and understand how it fits into their lifestyle, have it delivered to their house. We also talked about really rethinking what the showroom is like and making it an experiential showroom and less kind of look at the car, drive, and then disappear into that bathroom to do the negotiating. We also felt that was a real luxury aspect to the vehicle, to be able to, we got you, you take it for the weekend, you know, and just really own that experience, and that only comes from a brand that has confidence, and that's exactly what we want to imbue and the message we want to be putting out. This is a confident car for confident women. And we came up with a couple of different lines that we would really use as the spark or the idea for kind of the redesign of the car and the experience. And I think that it comes from what we're said is like somebody felt that they had earned a Cadillac, but flipping that on its head, and it's a Cadillac that's earned you. So this car is finally something that deserves you. Or another line was at your best. So, or at the best. Yeah.
Great. Terrific. Very good.
Questions?
No? Right. Okay, and the last one, Team Tesla.
Everybody's too nice.
Yes.
Okay. This is Team Tesla. I'm Jen PA. And, you know, Tesla is different. It's unique. And we have to start thinking about it like that. And we thought, when we were talking about dealerships and how nobody liked them, we thought, well, there shouldn't be dealerships for Tesla. It is special. And we're thinking, what are women really good at? And we're really good at relationships. And so we thought that is really what Tesla needs to stand for. And we thought, let's start with an umbrella. What's our platform? And we came up with the thought of it's really the start of a beautiful relationship. We want Tesla to represent a relationship with women, so it'll carry on through. It won't be something that next time they're looking for a car that they have to start the process over again. It'll be done. It's the beginning of a relationship. And we thought it really fits with the DNA because it's an electric car, so it's a long-term relationship with the planet. We're looking to the future. So that kind of was our catalyst, our platform of this beautiful relationship, and it kind of everything else fell into place after that.
And because we had a team of doers, we came up with a number of actionable operational things that could happen. One of them was from Kelly, and we all contributed to the idea as a group. But imagine a group of women who were all within 1 month of buying a car, which means that they are actually ready to make a transaction, who attract a group of not just Tesla salespeople, but salespeople from a number of different companies, positioning Tesla as a leader in the industry. That creates a day-long or maybe half-day-long event that is attended by women who are all within 1 month of buying a car, and that is hosting a series of workshops to teach you how to, on a car, change the tire, change the oil, or get lashes put on, or do the high-end sort of treatments that require longer amounts of hours to give you time both to build a relationship with those salespeople, to see the car, to drive the car, and to also be in community with other women so that it becomes a destination where women come and get pitched to by the salespeople and by the car manufacturers rather than feeling vulnerable and walking in and being at a disadvantage. So it's a showcase event, and it's again attended by multiple car manufacturers, hosted by Tesla, positioning Tesla yet again as a leader.
And we realized that fundamentally when you drive a Tesla, you buy a Tesla because you love to drive. But the test drive can be really awkward. It's kind of the pressure of your driving test. You're sitting 2 feet away from a stranger that you've never met before. It's judging how you accelerate. And it's not realistic to your experience. So we say take the car, take it for an afternoon, go through your daily commute, see what it's like getting on the highway with all those crazies in the morning, see what it's like to pick up your coffee, to put your groceries in the trunk, to fit your dog in the back seat. We're confident that you try the car, you're going to like the car.
So we also talked a lot about what happens after the point of sale, and does the honeymoon period die right away? Do they call? Do I get an awkward text? What happened? That's all happened. So, but at Tesla, we're going to remain committed to the relationship because we want to grow it. Ultimately, we know that loyalty comes from continuing to engage in an appropriate way. So we're going to do it in 3 major ways that we kind of talked about as a group. And the first is making me remain loyal. So don't forget my birthday. Remember our anniversary. I want to know all of these times that are important to us. The second is just empower me. Because just because I don't know how to change my oil or I don't know what to do when I get a flat tire doesn't mean I don't want to know. And so if a car company could empower me to learn those things, I'd be a lot more loyal to them as I kind of continued my journey in buying cars. And then or teach me how to install my car seat because no one knows how to do that. And then the last one was just focus on me. Like it is all about me in my life. And so I want you to make my life easier as a car dealership. So come to me, pick my car up, speak my language. I don't want to get a bill at the end of my service appointment that it's like, German to me. Like I can't read it. I want to know what you did and why does it matter and why did it cost $500? Those are the things that I really want to know. So I think if we can kind of continue the service relationship and really focus on what happens after I walk out of the dealership or drive out of the dealership, then I think we'll have a great relationship.
Thank you.
Terrific. Wow. Rick, what did you think?
That was great. I think, first of all, you were in groups of 10 people or maybe a little more of people you, for the most part, don't know. You might have some colleagues that you're sitting with, but for overall, this type of assignment and workshop can work anywhere. You can pull together people from disparate parts of the agency or from your own department and just get together and in very short try to solve a problem. We spend way too much time analyzing. We're just over-analytical, we question, we sit in our rooms, we don't want to show our ideas, we don't want to throw our ideas out, for fear of being sounding stupid. When you do it this way, where you really just sort of throw it together and there's no fear and there's no sort of hierarchical look at things, it allows for ideas to come forward in a very quick way. And if you do these types of workshops, it really does work to elevate and just get you thinking in a whole new direction. So I, first of all, would challenge you to try to take that as a tool to use wherever you work and just do it periodically. But I think overall there were some really cool ideas that came out of, I think, BMW, the whole idea of Team BMW, taking the, sort of the insight of BMW of what you are and say, okay, you stand for this, you have the right attributes, but you haven't used the words properly. Be targeted towards a female audience and to use the words in a different way by making it emotion was a really terrific insight, and I think obviously would give them an opportunity to really start a whole new way of communicating to women. And Team Ford, the Stylus app I think is a really interesting thing. And many of you probably haven't been to the car buying experience, but a lot of the things you've talked about are being done. Even to the idea of having you be able to have a test drive come to your house and be delivered. So some of the things you've talked about are actually being done, but if you haven't been to the car buying experience in a while, you don't know that. So, but the idea of a stylist, I think an app that allows you to sort of program your time when you're there really is an interesting insight, and one that I think would be something that everybody would look at and go, okay, that's a way that they're using. I don't have to go in and sit and wait for the person, do all the paperwork, all the things that goes along with that. So I thought it was pretty cool. In Toyota, I love women with drive. The idea of that, if any of you have been to car dealers and know that you can get a guy to come and pick you up and take you back to your office because when you drop your car off, you can't spend the whole afternoon, and they'll take you. They have these vans with these guys that sit around waiting to take you to your place. There's plenty of time for them to be able to use that van to then go pick up a woman with drive who needs it because she's now going to a job interview or going to, to wherever it might be, or even taking the idea of taking, people who can't drive and moving them elderly. That idea is something that I think would touch emotionally and actually have people like the brand in a whole new way from anybody's perspective, let alone a female's perspective. Cadillac, I loved, first of all, the story, the beginning story. I mean, presentation, terrific. When you can start with an emotional, personal story, it hooks you, you get in, and you like you just because of the story of your father was an engineer and your grandfather, that whole thing gets you going. But I also like the idea of redesigning a car for women, which hasn't been really done. I think a couple car manufacturers have tried and really not been successful. I don't know how economical it would be, but the idea of taking a Cadillac and designing it for a female market, something that could be interesting. And then finally, Tesla, the whole idea of workshops, again, like the Women's Drive, having workshops for women every month. When you're in the buying market, that to me is a really interesting insight and something could be used. So each group, in a very quick 15 minutes came up, or 20 minutes, came up with something, some insight that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely loved all of your ideas, guys. Incredibly impressive in such a short space of time. And I think what's interesting is, as Rick said, you can use an exercise like this collaboratively within your workplaces, but also, I think it's really interesting to replicate this exercise with any brands you work on that, in theory, are gender equal. Because what this demonstrated was when you bring a female lens to the experience, you get female insights and female ideas. And all of us work on brands where, yes, they're talking to men and women, but the default setting really is men. And so, within your own companies and whatever brands you work on, it's worth doing a quick hit creative exercise like this that says, let's just look at this brand through the female lens, and let's think, if we really, really want to make women feel this brand gets me like no other in the marketplace, what are the additional things that we could bring to the table that are about making women feel that this experience is utterly, totally customized and personalized to me. So very well done. Thank you so much for participating. And by the way, you can hire us to do this within your agency, with your clients, between yourselves and your clients, between you and your agency. Do go to sparkstarters.com and take a look at what we do as a collective. And thank you very much. And now we can all go get lunch.
Thank you.
Well done.
I want to thank Kat for inviting us, and I was going to give the same sales job, so thank you, Cindy, even though I'm your sidekick.
Always be selling.
Yeah, always selling. Thank you all.